So today I made reservations with a priest, and we're going to do Q&A with a priest. I wrote down some questions that I thought of, and yeah, we're going to give it a try. So could you quickly introduce yourself?
Very good. My name is Monsignor Tom Richter. I'm the pastor at Queen of Peace Catholic Church in Dickinson, North Dakota.
Okay. I wanted to interview him because he is a friend of mine, and I think he has a lot of knowledge. He has a lot of good stories in his brain, right? And
I had the privilege of teaching you in high school.
Yeah, right. You taught me. Who taught me a lot, and I hope my phone doesn't die. But what story could we start with? Let's start with your wrestling career. So what was your wrestling record?
Very, very good. So I went to St. Mary's Central High School.
Uh-huh.
So freshman years when I started wrestling at St. Mary's. My freshman year, I wrestled 112 and 119.
The weight category, 112, 119.
That was way back in 1982. My first year of wrestling. I graduated from high school in 1986, and so my freshman year was I was quite little at the time. My senior year, I wrestled 167 pounds. Those were the weight categories back then. And so my freshman year, I think I was like 500. My first match, however, Ethan, my first varsity match as a freshman, I wrestled a two-time state champ. It was my very, very first match of my high school varsity career. And it was before they had the mercy rule. Now, if one wrestler is ahead of the other by 15 points, out of mercy, they stopped the match, but they didn't have that back in 1982. Oh. And so I got beat 31-2. And the only 2 points I got was because he let me go to take me back down. So my freshman year was filled with some bumps and bruises. My sophomore year, I wrestled 132, and I had a good year. My record, I think, was 20-10 at 132.
Okay.
But right before regionals, I tore. I had a meniscus tear, cartilage tear of my knee, and so I had to have orthopedic surgery, and so I didn't get to wrestle in regionals nor in state. My junior year in December, at the beginning of the wrestling season, I just had a couple of matches, and then I had a farm accident, pulled my left thumb off, and so that ended my wrestling days for that year. That would have been 1984 to 1985. And then my senior year, the fall of 85, the spring of 86 is when I wrestled 167. And luck would have it that I was able to be a North Dakota state champion.
You were a state champ, so
yes.
That first match you had against the state champ probably kind of wore away on you, and you became a state champ, right? Kind of was foreshadowing a little bit.
Yes, in reverse.
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing.
Yes, it was after 4 years, there was a certain sort of coming back and being able to maybe do to others what was done to me back when I was a freshman. But I enjoyed wrestling. We in fact had a good team that year at St. Mary's High School. Steve McCormick was also a state champion that year for St. Mary's. And he became actually a two-time state champion, Steve. So to have him in the wrestling room, wrestling him every day was a tremendous help to me, a tremendous help. And then I went on to college and went to Bismarck State College. I didn't wrestle my first year. So then for college, I started at Bismarck State studying electrical engineering, and I took my first year off, so I didn't wrestle my freshman year. After a year off, I decided to get back into the game, and the famous Coach Ed Kringstead, was still coaching at Bismarck State at the time. I think he was the most winningest coach in the country for JUCO, junior colleges.
Really?
And I wrestled 167 when I was there at Bismarck State, and I was able to attain All-American status. I took 6th in the country that year. And then I actually cut down to 158 for conferences and nationals that year. So 2 years after high school, I went from 167 and cut down to 158, which was, it was a very difficult grind, cutting the weight that I had to at basically the last month of the year. I wrestled 167 much of the year, but for the conference and regional, I cut all the way down to 158. Then after my 2 years at Bismarck State College, I went to NDSU to finish my engineering degree. And I wrestled at NDSU my junior year, just a short stint at the end. I knew a lot of the NDSU wrestlers. I knew the coach, Bucky Mon. He recruited my brother John, who was a great wrestler. John was a really great wrestler. I was just kind of an average guy. And so Bucky knew me, and I knew a lot of the wrestlers. And so one day, I think it was in January, I went up into the NDSU wrestling room, practice room, to wrestle with the guys. And apparently I didn't do too bad, and so Coach Mon brought me in his room and said, would you wrestle for us in conference, and I'll pay you a quarter of a school. That was back when NDSU was on quarters instead of just semesters. So you had fall quarter, winter quarter, spring quarter, and summer quarter for those who did summer school. So I said, sure, I'm gonna wrestle a couple of weeks and get a quarter of school paid, and so I did. And so I wrestled 177 at conferences for NDSU, and that was my NDSU wrestling career. I had 4 matches at that tournament. Went 2-2 and helped NDSU win their 10th straight national conference, North Central Conference title. Cool. So that was good, yeah. Huh. Got a wrestling jacket out of it as well.
That's a pretty long career. It's a pretty good career.
Yes.
A lot of winning.
Yeah.
A lot of winning. Did that state champ, you said 2-time state champ in high school at St. Mary's, did he go on to go? Did he go to college too?
Yeah, he got a scholarship to NDSU.
Oh, okay.
NDSU. But because of other sort of family obligations, personal obligations he had, ended up not wrestling there for throughout his college career. Yeah, so it was a short stint for Steve. Great wrestler, amazing wrestler. In fact, his senior year, he was Mr. Wrestler for the entire state of North Dakota.
There's a Mr. Wrestler.
Yes.
Is that still a thing today? Because there's a Mr. Basketball.
You're right.
Is there a Mr. Wrestler still?
A good question, Ethan. I think there is. Maybe. I think there is. But 2 years ago when I was there to watch my nephew, I don't recall who got it, but I think it's still a thing.
Still a thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's something for football, I think. I know they always, every division, they always pick.
They certainly have the all-state team.
I think it was Ty Dossinger won something along that line for football.
Possibly. Senior of the year or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's might have what it was. Were you ever a coach for wrestling?
No.
No?
No. So I just was in school, and the studies were pretty demanding. The engineering studies, and I'm a man of pretty average intelligence, so I had to spend quite a bit of time in the books. And the wrestling was also a big commitment, so I didn't have free time nor interest to coach.
Yeah.
A couple of my brothers did.
Your brothers
did?
So
my brother John, who was right above me, John was a state champion as well, 1967. He was in 83. I was in 86. And then John became a 3-time All-American, twice at BSC and once at UND, University of North Dakota. That's back when they had a wrestling program. It no longer exists. But yeah, that was back in the 80s when he became an All-American for them as well.
Yeah.
So there's 5 of us Richter boys who are state champions for North Dakota. So my brother John, myself, my brother David, Father David, he's a priest as well. He was a 145-pound state champ in 1989. David was, and then Jerry, my brother Jerome, was in 1992. He's now out at the University of Mary, vice president out at the University of Mary.
Yeah. He does the Rome trip.
Yep.
He takes us to Rome.
Yeah, he leads the high schoolers to Rome with the other priests. Yeah, really good man, doing great work.
So coaching, I actually am trying to get a coaching job. I applied at junior high. They're hiring junior high football. Good. I played football until I was a senior, so I said, why not? And I applied for coaching. I'm talking to the head coach for the coaching job, but I got to do the interview.
You were quite a track star, weren't you?
Yeah,
that's where you
we
experienced the most success, correct?
I found success in football too. In track, we won. Well, my freshman year, we got second in state, and I was running relays, and I was always a relay person, but relays are very intense for sure, and they threw me in the relays. My sister, she was thrown in the relays at a young age. My younger brother, Isaac, he was thrown in the relays at a young age, and he's actually going to college at UMary and is going to run there.
Nice.
So,
yeah, you guys are fast.
Us 3 got thrown in there pretty young. I was thrown there as a freshman. We got second at state as a team. Won some medals in those relays, and then sophomore year we became state champs.
Nice.
I was a state champ in the 4x4 and state champ as a team in the same year. And then
good for you. Were you in triple jump?
No. I ran 4x4, the mile relay, the 800 relay, and the 400 relay. And then my junior year we got second at state again, and then senior year didn't happen because of COVID. But yeah, when I went to high school, we as a team we did pretty good overall in state. But and then football, if you have a good track team, you got a good football team.
Yeah.
So we did pretty good there. But yeah, I'm trying to get a coaching job. My sister's a coach at Richardson as a track coach, and they actually go to Montana. They recently, I remember she was in Montana doing track. I never went to Montana when I was in track, but it seems like Trinity is now maybe going to Montana to do track. So I think that's pretty cool. Cool state, Montana.
Big state.
Yeah.
It's a really big state.
It is. A lot of mountains, a lot of wilderness, but
they're a good neighbor to North Dakota.
Yeah. So you mentioned your finger that you got ripped off junior year.
Yep, my junior year.
Did you have to? You went straight to the ER, I'm guessing?
Yeah, so it was December of 1984. So as you know, I was born and raised on a dairy farm.
A dairy farm?
A dairy farm. So it was after wrestling practice and after milking cows. One of the common tasks on the farm was what we call grinding feed. So you would take grains like oats, corn, mix minerals into them, grind the grains, mix minerals into them. And that's what the dairy cows would eat in the parlor while you're milking them. And so that night I was grinding feed by myself. It was about 8 p.m. It was a cold, cold night, snow on the ground. And if you can picture this, Ethan, there were, what it consists of is a grain bin, and this was oats. So a grain bin full of oats with an auger sticking in the grain bin, augering oats out. There's a tractor running the auger, right? So if you're aware of the concept of a power takeoff, and that gets from the implement, the auger, the mower, whatever the implement is, and you put the power takeoff onto the back power takeoff shaft on the tractor. Then you have another tractor hooked to the feed grinder, the grain grinder. So you have a grain bin.
Shuts off every once in a while. I think it just gets too long, and then I'll restart it.
I talk too much, huh?
No, that's okay. That's the point of this.
Good, thank you.
Talk.
So
tell your story.
Yes. So I got the tractor started. It's we just had a little old tractor on the auger because you don't need a lot of power. So it's a little old 2-cylinder John Deere tractor running the auger, but it barely started. It barely started. And I was so happy that it started, because if it didn't start, I'd have to run to the house, about 200 yards away to the house, to get a brother, to get another tractor to start it, etc. So, yay, it started. And then, and so I got the power takeoff on the grinder tractor going, and then I jumped back on this little tractor, turned on the power takeoff to make it auger grain into the feed grinder. Well, the auger augers grain faster than the grinder can grind the grain. So once the little trough for the grinder gets full, you would shut off the power takeoff to the auger. It would stop augering oats, let this catch up, and then you turn it back on, auger some more, let it catch up. You get the point. But on this night, it was so cold, the hydraulic oil in the gear case for this little old John Deere tractor must have been so stiff and cold that when I shut this power takeoff shaft lever off, it didn't stop. The power takeoff kept going, kept augering grain, and so grain was going on the ground. And so I didn't know how to stop it. Didn't have a lot of time to recharge. Are we good?
I think so. I don't
So
know.
didn't have a lot of time to recharge. So I did something silly, and thought I would apply a little load on the power takeoff to cause the gears to come apart. But then my glove got caught. Got caught when I grabbed it. Glove got caught on the power takeoff shaft, and so it bound my mitten. The force of binding, the whole reality of binding, it did that inside of my glove and my mitten. They were big burly mittens, so when I grabbed it, it wound my glove up inside and whipped my entire body around the shaft, underneath it, and about to throw me around it. And then it would have got a hold of my other clothes, and then I would have really been in trouble. But my thumb let go, so my thumb came off, and then I was free. Shut off the tractors, picked up my mitten with my thumb still in my mitten, and ran to the house, ran to the house and jumped in the car with my dad, my good dad, and we drove to Bismarck. We lived 20 miles outside of Bismarck.
Yeah, good old jump in a car and head straight for the ER. I know my dad has a couple stories like that when he was on the farm.
Yeah, we have several. So we got to the ER at St. Alexis Hospital, and I think I went into surgery for 6 or 8 hours. They sewed the thumb back on. But because due to it being pulled off, it wasn't a clean cut, you know. So a lot of veins didn't tear up here, they tore in my forearm. And so it was difficult to connect these veins way back in my arm to my newly sewed on thumb. And so it didn't get a proper sufficient level of blood. And so it didn't work. And so it got discolored on my hand, and some days later had to go back to the hospital, to the clinic, and they had to remove my thumb.
Yeah, and could you see like the veins? Could you see the veins on the end of the finger?
When you mean when I picked up my glove?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were some. Yeah.
I wonder what that looked like. Veins.
I didn't want to bring that up, but yeah, they were hanging out of
real
my,
like actually. They're not very thick. They're very thin,
That's
aren't
right.
they?
So my sweet mother put the mitten into a container and put ice over the top of it to keep it cool on the way to Bismarck.
Right. Yeah. That's. I think that's usually the protocol for when something happens like that.
That's right.
Well, I went to EMT school and I'm trying to get an EMT job, but
Nice.
I haven't landed one yet. But I'm still studying. But yeah, that's usually. I think that's the protocol. Put on some ice.
Yeah. My mother wasn't a nurse, but she had some really nurse sort of intuitions when you raise so many kids and have so many bruises and cuts and lacerations. She kind of knew by instinct what to do. So they took it off and sewed it all up. And so even though I don't have a thumb, I still have a lot of movement here. And so I was able to wrestle the next year and then into college without a thumb. And it wasn't the same, but I still could grip pretty well because of this movement. So it didn't debilitate me too much moving forward in my wrestling career.
Okay. Yeah, I also injured my hand. As you can see, it's actually dislocated.
Yes.
But that happened in football, and two of my other buddies that was kind of close to in high school also had the same thing happen to them. So dislocated finger, but it's a little bit painful.
Yes.
But
they're badges of honor though.
It's
for
it's your signature.
That's right.
I think.
For a young, strong young man like you need a badge of honor, and something like that helps.
Yeah, some battle scars.
That's right.
Battle scars. Yeah. So those were two. I'm guessing you did a lot of hunting growing up.
I did. There's our farm.
Oh, okay.
There's our farm, and so my dad was very much a hunting and wildlife enthusiast. In fact, he received some awards from the state of North Dakota for being Wildlife Man of the Year, etc. We dedicated some land and water sources specifically just for wildlife. So our farm had exceptional hunting, largely pheasant and deer. And so with all the boys in the family, we grew up hunting a lot of pheasant and a lot of deer. And so it was something we did week after week during the season out on the farm. My brother John and I, my brother right above me, John and I did a lot of hunting together. As I think way back into junior high, then senior high, and even into college. But wonderful times on the farm hunting together. Great memories, growing, bonding as brothers, and then we had to have a lot of friends and relatives come out on weekends to shoot a couple of pheasant or even deer. And to this day, the pheasant population was devastated over the last 10 years. We've had difficult springs, winters and then a couple of dry springs, and so the hatches really got adversely affected. And then this blue tongue virus into whitetail deer wiped out our entire herd about 4 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
And so they're coming back a little bit, but we would take 20, a dozen or 20 bucks off our property, off our farm a season, and it's become a lot less now.
Yeah, I do a little bit of coyote hunting.
Oh, good for you. Do you call them?
Yeah.
What do you shoot?
Right now I'm using a 223.
Nice.
It's an AR 223. My dad usually says it's a little bit small for coyotes, but I haven't got one yet. I was really close a couple of times. I have called them in. I just haven't hit them yet.
Nice.
I'm still.
What kind of scope you have on it?
It's actually a red dot sight. So it's it's a modern piece of technology, But
did you buy it new?
I bought it off of a neighbor that won it. Won it new, I think. But it's a fun weapon. It's a little bit different shooting wise, like the style. I think than like a bolt, a normal bolt action rifle.
Yeah.
Usually just get one shot.
Yes.
An AR gets a couple more shots. Yeah. So like if they're running away, you might be able to pop off a couple shots at the coyote that's running away.
Yeah, they're quite clever.
They're very tough, and
they know how to get over a hill really fast.
Yeah.
Do you do it at night or during the day?
During the evening, later. Do you still own guns?
Mm-hmm.
You still have?
I have a 25-06. And I have a 12 gauge.
12 gauge.
Benelli. A 12 gauge Benelli, and I have a 22.
22.
To shoot gophers.
Yeah.
Did you ever shoot gophers?
Gophers?
Yeah.
You mean like little?
Yeah.
They're pretty small, aren't they?
The little varmints.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's a great pastime for us out on the farm.
I know you see those prairie dogs around town. Yeah. In town, where I work, there's some prairie dogs over there. I did a little bit of hunting growing up. I think every young kid should do a little bit of hunting when they grow up.
I agree.
But
it was a blessing, and still is for my family.
Yeah.
My nephews, and even some nieces are avid hunters. Very avid hunters.
Yeah.
So it's been passed on from generation to generation. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Good to be with you, Ethan.
Yeah. Beats sitting at home. But
yes.
So do you have dreams? Do you have goals?
Do I have dreams? Do I have goals?
Yeah.
Yeah, to get to heaven.
Get to heaven? I figured you'd say something like that since you're a priest.
To get to heaven.
Yeah.
That is certainly my lifelong daily dream and goal.
Mm-hmm.
More immediate or more temporal goals? At some point I want to write a book. I have a first draft, a manuscript. I need to work on that. I need to take a block of time out, finish that. It's a lot about a similar topic to what I taught you at Trinity. My class on prayer and discernment. I'd like
cool.
to.
I thought that was kind of interesting question. You never know what type of goals other people have.
Yeah.
What about like traveling? Have you traveled the world?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say the world, but I've been given a tremendous number of blessings that way and opportunities. So for theology, my bishop sent me to the North American College in Rome to study theology. So I lived in Rome for 4 years studying theology. From the fall of 1992 to June of 1996, those 4 years I lived there. And while I lived there studying in Rome, we had a lot of opportunities to travel in Western Europe and even Eastern Europe. So I visited, I think, just about every country in Western Europe over those 4 years, as well as some in the East to Poland, to now what was former Czechoslovakia. Went to Medjugorje a couple of times. Also went to Turkey. Did this pilgrimage of St. Paul's tours and visited the sites of the first 7 ecumenical councils. We have a mission in Kenya, so I spent 6 weeks there one summer, and that was in the country of Kenya. It was in Buratana. Went to Tanzania, went to Tunisia, so visited a couple of countries in Africa. Also been to the Holy Land a couple of times. And so that's been a blessing as well. For vacations, besides that, I've been to Canada and Mexico and the Cayman Islands and the British Virgin Islands, a couple of places like that.
So just about everywhere besides maybe Asia.
I haven't been to Asia. No, if you count Turkey as just part of Eastern Europe, I haven't been to any country in Asia or South America. I haven't been to countries in South America. At some point, I'd like to go see some. Visit a country or two in South America. We take in our high schools, and presently they're taking a service trip to Peru, and some are going there. I would like to join at some point, join a service trip like that. I've been to Guatemala. There used to be the God's Child Project, which was very well supported here in the Diocese of Bismarck, taking care of orphaned and very impoverished children down in Guatemala. And so I went and visited back in 1999.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, I've been to Europe when we visited. I think that was 2 weeks.
Isn't that amazing?
Europe, yeah, it's a bit different. It was cool seeing the other schools and seeing the kids your age, just different school, different town.
What did you think of St. Peter's Basilica?
It's a big place.
It's amazing. It's 2 football fields long.
That's the measurement.
Yeah. It's over 600 feet long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. The dome is what? The top of the dome is something like 35.
I know a person compared to like the actual height,
Yeah,
it's not really made for a person. It's made for giants, really.
Yeah.
That's how, like, you know, comparing a person and the size of that room.
It's made for thousands.
Yeah.
There's I think there's 40 altars in St. Peter's in the main level.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
down in the crypt.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place to see. Amazing place to visit.
I was actually in Utah, in Salt Lake City, and well, in Salt Lake City, there's the
Mormon temple.
that their headquarters.
Yep.
And I didn't realize it. I didn't know before I went, but I was there and I was walking around and I happened to go see the temple. It was quite the place. Not the size of St. Peter's Basilica, but it was. I got to know, learned a little bit of history about the Mormon.
Yes.
It's definitely
It's an amazing.
just a holy vibe. I
amazing,
think there.
Amazing structure.
Yeah. Have you been there?
I have.
You have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good vacation when I went to Utah.
Yeah, I think Utah's a little underrated.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's becoming more and more popular.
Yeah.
It has incredible nature. We vacationed one year in Utah. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Good to be with you.
Yeah, this is fun. Down to the last couple of questions. You might not know this question on top of your head, but since I'm an EMT, Saint Michael is the patron saint of first responders.
That's right.
Is there a story behind that? Or,
I don't know. There might be.
He's an angel, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if.
You know anything else about that?
I don't.
No?
I don't. Very clearly, right, St. Michael is associated with the battle with the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And the very, very difficult, dangerous situations. So maybe there's some connection to him being the head archangel who in the book of Revelation takes on the dragon, and first responders going into these dangerous, risky, life-threatening sort of situations might be the connection, but that's all. I don't know anything beyond that. How about you?
No, I don't. I just know he's, there's that one picture of, well, it's Saint Michael, an angel, around, like an ambulance, I think, or like there's this one picture I saw of Saint Michael around, an ambulance or
We'll have to look that up.
Or beside, it was a really cool picture to see the wings around whatever. I think it was a person or a first responder. I have this one of St. George.
There you go.
And that's my confirmation saint. Let's go Saint Michael, patron saint of first. Let's go EMTs. Let's go images. It's something like this, like an angel, but I think it was like an actual ambulance. I saw it on a fridge one time. I thought it was really cool, but
I think I've seen that as well.
But
it's a modern
Saint Michael
sacred painting, right?
Yeah, I saw it on a fridge. There's a fridge decal thing.
Nice.
But yeah, that's I think those are all the questions.
Thank you, Ethan.
Yeah.
It's good to be with you.
It was good to see you.
Good to
Good
see you.
talk
again.
to you.
Yeah. Thank you for being so faithful. So faithful to Mass, loving the church, loving the sacraments, loving Jesus. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's what's important, right?
You're exactly right. God bless.
You busy the rest of the day?
I am.